Thank you for staying with us at Film Fest as we head into the Q&A for We Who Are Making Waves. Joining us now are some of the filmmakers of the movies you've just watched. I would like to invite them to introduce themselves with their name, pronouns, and what films you worked on.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Ian. I am the creator, writer, and lead actress for Clementine and one of the producers, and my pronouns are she, hers.
Hi everyone, my name is Alice and I directed Someone Special, which is my graduation animated film, and my pronouns are she, her.
It's so nice to meet you both and to have you joining us tonight. I'm very excited to have this conversation with you too. And to finish off our introductions, my name is Ivy. I use they them pronouns and I am the moderator for tonight's Q&A. I wanted to start off with a question to hopefully lead you both into conversations about your respective films. A thorough line that I found in various characters across your films was that they have this desire to be seen and understood. What happens when that desire, that need is fulfilled, and what happens when it isn't?
Um, my gosh, it's such a big question. I mean, what happens when the desire to be seen and understood is fulfilled and when it isn't? I mean, I feel like it's just like such a healing moment when you are seen, especially as like a queer trans person, when you're just like constantly navigating life as being othered and ostracized and just like undermined and completely overlooked. And so to finally be seen, not just by others, but by yourself is such a liberating moment of just like self love and freeing yourself of like all these restrictive and oppressive like ideas that we like internalize within ourselves that become so violent and harmful. And so to be seen, yeah, it's just like a healing and liberating and freeing feeling. And it's amazing. Yeah, it's, yeah. Anyways.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. And for my character, I feel like she needed to be seen both, like maybe even more through her Viet identity because she's mixed, like just like me and my experience, but like um, through the story, she wanted to be seen and recognized as part of the Viet community because she felt more French, her and white, maybe in a way, during her whole life, and discovering like that she has that Viet identity in common with another girl. She really wanted to connect with her and felt like that she wasn't uh, like she couldn't feel recognized because she couldn't speak the language as well, and being able to connect even without speaking Vietnamese, and uh, at the end even like connect through a love story. It was really like also, as you said, like something liberate that makes her feel liberated and free and really like a beautiful moment. And yeah, I think she put a lot of pressure in herself to um, be able to stick to the image she imagines, like what's it to be like Vietnamese, because she never been to Vietnam, and but she still wants to connect with her identity. So yeah, I feel like in this film it's more about reconnecting to your Viet identity more than to being a lesbian, because it's also what my film talks about. And it's like a bit of being comfortable and finding community in being both. And yeah, I think it's like uh, yeah, being yourself in the end.
Thank you both for your answers. And actually, Alice, that kind of goes into my second question perfectly. There's something about like there's something so gut punchy about being queer, part of the LGBTQ community, while also being Viet. And it was so breathtaking to see these intersections in your films. How do you balance how do you find the balance of expressing the nuances of these identities, being Viet and queer, queer and Viet?
Um, Gosh, I think that's still something I'm still figuring out, to be honest. I think in New York right now, specifically, there's been kind of like this renaissance of like this Vietnamese community. There's like a surgence of like Viet folks here, like new restaurants, like new collectives, and I have never seen so. I've been in New York for 16 years, and I've never seen so many Vietnamese people here, like since like the past 3 years. It's like so wild. It's like total 180, and so I've been really getting to like reconnect with my Vietnamese like culture and roots with people here in New York in a different way than I have with my family, back home, and they're like kind of spread all over, and I'm very close with them. And I'm so lucky that they've been so supportive of me and loving of me. But to be Vietnamese, queer, and trans outside of my family context has been really interesting. It's, and being in these spaces where it's predominantly straight cis folks, and just kind of feeling a little scared at first of like how I'm going to be accepted and perceived and received and held and all this stuff. And thankfully, it's like it's been so beautiful getting to connect with other Vietnamese people who aren't just like queer and trans here in New York. Um, it's and like finding community while also still having like queer Vietnamese like friends and sisters here and there. Like some of my good sisters are Vietnamese trans dolls as well here in New York. The few of us that are here, but it's been an really interesting and really beautifully healing journey for me. Kind of experiencing these different intersections all at once here in New York for like the first time. Within the past few years. So yeah, it's been really cool.
That's so nice to hear, like how it's like for you in the US, and like how similar and also different it could be from like in France. And I think for me, I kind of discovered like that I was Viet at the same time that I discovered I was queer, if that makes sense, because I grew up in like a very white French neighborhood, and like as a kid, I could still feel that I was a bit different, and like from both identities. And it was only like during my teen years that I started meeting new, both queer and both Asian and Viet people, luckily. And I think I came to realization kind of at the same time that I wanted to um, both connect with the queer and Viet community, but I met the needs meeting queer community before meeting Viet people other than my family, because it was like just easier because I went to art school after that, and art school is just full of queer people and amazing, and I found lesbian and also just other LGBT people here that may be able to just come out first, and both, and then I came out to my family as well, um, Viet side, and also I'm very very close to my grandparents, and I was so scared. Both my grandparents are Vietnamese, but it went very very well. They're like my biggest allies right now, which is like so like heartwarming. I couldn't like expect that when I was younger, and now I could be like happier in both like my family, and also I found community somewhere else, and also through my film, I think I met many like Viet queer people, and that just amazing finding community even at a later age. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you both so much for your answers. Oh, like trying so hard not to tear up over here, being someone who's also queer in Viet. Um, my third question to you both is during your time making your films, did you learn something about yourself along the way?
Oh my gosh. uh, um, my goodness, it's been so long since I've made this. I mean, that I'm like trying to remember. I'm like, so much has happened since. Oof, Alice, do you have your answer ready?
Yeah, I have my answer because it's like the continuation of what I was saying before is that I did learn something about myself through making my film because I met people because it's like my graduation film and I worked with uh, my my teachers obviously, but they were like mainly white people that didn't really like connect with what I was trying to tell through my story. And I worked with the voice actors and actresses. I searched people that would fit the exact like ethnicity and if possible even like gender or sexuality of my characters. And I did the casting call through Instagram and I met like my ideal casting, and actually one of my characters is voiced by my friend, like my one of my best friends who is also like she's Indian of Vietnamese heritage from one of her grandmothers, and it's the best friend of Lisa, my main character, is named Cam, and it's not explicit in the story at all, but like she's also of Indian and Vietnamese heritage. So I was like so happy that my friend could like come and join the project. And then I met Georges Cao, which is a singer and songwriter, a French Vietnamese. And she came to me and she was like, "Oh, I'm so glad to join your project because I relate so much to your character." And I was like, "Oh, really?" And I was like, "If you relate to my character, you relate to me in a way because like I wrote it for like to express some like feelings I was experiencing, I think, at the time of like not being able to speak Vietnamese while being wanting to reconnect. So I think I did learn about myself trying to write something funny also because I didn't want to write like a sad story again, especially since it's a love story and a queer story and a lesbian love story. I think I needed to heal myself with a just happy ending lesbian Viet love story. So that's how I discovered more about myself, coming to realization what do I need to see in animation and in films in general.
That's so beautiful. I mean, yeah, we definitely like need so many more queer trans films with just happy endings that are just like happy, sweet movies, you know? So, I feel like we could use a lot more of that, especially with everything going on a, you know, global sense and whatnot. Um, but okay, so I have my answer. The one thing that I learned about myself is that I'm capable of so much more than I think I am capable of because making Clementine was my first like production film thing I've ever done. I've only ever primarily I was only an actress before, and so I've never produced, I've never written or anything before. This was my first screenplay as well. And so everything I was doing was for the first time. And it was just so scary and so anxiety inducing. And I learned that, like, with like these kind of creative pursuits, especially, you know, earlier on, like, I need to have like an accountability, like, partner of some sort because otherwise my anxiety will get to me and I will procrastinate and it just like will never get done and it's so annoying. So having, someone there just to check in on me has been really, really lovely and so helpful. And I just like also, watching the film, like I've grown so much as a human being and I see the character Lee and it's just like, wow, like I've come so far since, where I was when I had written this film to where I am now and just how much more secure I feel within myself and within my own womanhood. Um, but yeah, and yeah, amongst other things I just cannot think of. But yeah.
Yeah, thank you both for sharing again. And I'm going to start into the individualized questions, starting with Ian. I was so jazzed by that larger than life model of the vagina. That was amazing.
Mm.
Are you able to talk a bit about what was it like to construct it and to film inside of it?
Yeah, of course. So Patricia Cruz Hamandre, who is our production designer, she designed it with Sally Tran, our director. And so they kind of like speared it creatively and I just kind of, gave my thoughts here and there as like they shared it with me. But it was just like such a huge undertaking. I remember when I had first written the first draft, um, Sally had suggested like, what if we just like went it like made a life-size vagina? I was like, girl, I was like, with what money? Like, because again, like I was a first-time filmmaker. I was like, how am I gonna get this money to begin with? And so, um, and just thinking about building a life-size set vagina, I was like, that's gonna be so expensive. But I wrote it into the script and I was just like, let me just do it and like see what happens. And we made it happen, but filming inside was just so surreal and just like seeing it was so surreal. Like, so in the film, it's Lee's first time seeing a vagina in real life, outside of like, adult films and whatnot. And for me, oh my gosh, it was my first time like seeing one in real life too. And so it was just like such a wild experience and it just it's very visceral and whatnot. But the one thing I do really want to talk about that vagina scene, you know, what was so important for me when writing this film was having Noah, who is a trans masked like person, being the person who like leads this conversation of this vagina 101, kind of lecture to Lee, who's a trans woman, a late blooming trans woman who's just learning all these things for the first time. And I really wanted to have this person be a trans man or trans masc person because often they're left out of conversations, when it comes to vaginas and, menstruation and all that stuff. And so I just really wanted to have them in that space to like reclaim it and just like, hey, like non-binary people, trans men, trans masc folks, have a vagina, like, uh, you know, s- each person has a different relationship, with their body and whatnot. But it's just like there's people out there who, trans men, non-binary folks who have vaginas, and yeah, I just wanted to put that back out there because it's often, not talked about in the mainstream and whatnot. Yeah.
Yeah, I thank you for that really fun fact about how the actor that you played in part with in your short film was actually trans mask, and they got to be the one to lead you through that really amazing journey. It was really, I had to kind of look away at some points because of the noises you're both were making, but it was so fun
Oh my gosh.
just to um, I don't know, to experience that. And I love that the message of your film was that you get to define what femininity and womanhood means to you. So I wanted to ask, what about your femininity and womanhood? What makes it unique to you?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I think this is such a generic answer, but I'm just like, the thing that makes my femininity and womanhood unique to me is that it's mine and for me to define on my own, you know? And as it is with every woman out there. So I that's all yeah, that's all I got, that's all I have to say about that.
That's real. Um, and now I'm gonna put the spotlight on you, Alice. Um, Watching your animation was so fun and refreshing, especially since it's portraying a sapphic story. I feel like it's rare to see those. Are there any artists or animated pieces that have inspired your work?
Yeah, I wrote my film shortly after watching Domishi Turning Red, actually. That inspired me a lot, but more into not into like the sapphic aspect, but into the comedy and just like blending just like Asian heritage and how the character deals with being like a second or third generation immigrant, with like not making it like a sad or like very like serious story. I really wanted to keep it like fun and fresh and dynamic, and I feel like this film really, like when I watched it I was like, oh, I wish I directed it, like I wish I made it, because I had such a fun time watching it, and it also was like just like I felt represented like when I was a teen. And I thought, oh, I really want this kind of film, but for more like young adults to feel represented, because my film involves like Tinder and like dating scene, and so it's more like, yeah. So I really got inspired by this, and for like I thought about animated like media with like lesbian and sapphic characters, and didn't like really. I'm inspired by a lot like Shira and like Steven Universe and stuff. That was all I watched like as a teen, craving for queer representation, and the Owl House as well. But then I was like, where are the Asian and Viet characters? Like, where are they? And I did see Saving Face by Alice Wu, which is like the first like Asian love story I saw between two Asian women. I was like, oh, that's so heartwarming. And I was like, what if best of both worlds I bring into animation like a lesbian love story? And yeah, I was also inspired by 90s anime like Sailor Moon is a big inspiration to me, and I know Domishi was also inspired by this for Turning Red, so it like kind of makes sense. So yeah.
I love all the films that you mentioned, and it really helps that I actually seen all of them. So, yay! I really did get to, as you're talking, see the influences in your animation. It was just, it was so cute, and I really loved watching it. Um, so, what was it like creating a trilingual story since you have characters in your film that speaks French and Vietnamese, and then English too, since like the subtitles are in English. So,
Yeah.
what's it like? Yeah.
Well, it was like a challenge for me, because I knew if I made a film about like not being able to speak Vietnamese, I still needed Vietnamese in my story. Like I wanted people to speak Vietnamese and people to hear Vietnamese in my film. So that's when I reached for help. So I also made like a post on Instagram asking for people to potentially help me translating, because I didn't want like my character to only use like Google Translate, and I couldn't really ask for help from my family because um they came to France like really back then. Like my grandparents arrived in the 60s, I think. So they're Viet, like the language they speak is really like frozen in time. So they couldn't like be able to translate as young people talk today. I think it wouldn't be like yeah, just like Gen Z. So I did reach to another fellow animator called Swan, actually just like my main character, that helped me translating all I wanted. So I would send him dialogues and stuff in French, and he would send it back to me like in Vietnamese. So it was like really more accurate. Also, the like voice actors and actors that participated were like bilingual, which really helped. So for most of them, not Lisa's one, but for Swan's one, and like when they came to the studio, I also made them like proofread before recording. They were like, because I choose to set like I chose the north accent for it to be like uh I didn't want to go everywhere and like be a weird blend between north and south. I was like, okay, my character is from the north, so I'm gonna also reach and search for someone speaking like northern Vietnamese. So that's how it went. And then in the studio, they were like, "Oh, I feel like it would be more natural for me to say it like this." And I was like, "Okay, feel free to like just the character needs to say this, but feel free to say it in the more natural way it comes to you." It was really interesting because I couldn't properly like understand what they were saying, like the nuances, but working together it worked. And as for the subtitles, English, it's funny because I did write them myself, so I did I did worked as a trilingual story because I wrote it in French, then worked with Vietnamese and French Vietnamese people for the Viet parts. And for the subtitles, I did rewatch my film myself, and I was like, okay, how could I translate this to English in a like a good way that actually translates what I want to say. So yeah.
I think it does help that I did take 4 years of French, so it was really great.
Oh, nice.
That I feel like the English subtitles were on point, and I feel like with Vietnamese diaspora, we have like kind of like the unique circumstance of like having different regions speak the same but kind of different language, and then there's like pre 1975 and then post 1975, and it's a lot to handle. And I think that was a really great way that you worked with a bunch of people to get your story to be so cohesive in its trilingualism. So yeah, I'm gonna get back to you, Yin. Were there any aspects of your screenplay that you ultimately did not use in the final film?
Um, Honestly, no. We pretty much used all the parts. Some parts were edited down in post-production, but all the beats that I had originally written were included for the most part. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess is there a continuation in your mind already about where you could take Lee?
Yes. I mean, gosh, there's so much I would love to go and expand it further. So when I originally had written Clementine, I originally had the idea of writing something with an open end that would have people kind of wonder more about Lee and what she was going to do, where she was going to go, more about the life of all the characters, because I was thinking of developing it into a television series. Um, but now that idea's on the back burner. Um, and now I'm like working on developing, or I'm working on my next short film that I've written that I'll be producing and actually will be directing as well to be my directorial debut. And I'll be starring in too. And um, all these stories that I'm kind of writing fit within the same universe. And so it eventually lead into a feature film. So that's kind of where the trajectory is going right now with, the world of Lee. Yeah.
That is so exciting. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. Yeah, I hope that you'll um, give us updates if we were to, follow you on social media about like
Yeah.
your journey to get to your directorial debut. That is so exciting.
Yeah.
Very much good luck to you
Thank
on
you.
that. Yeah. Alice, what sort of support did you receive from your school, the National School of Decorative Arts, while you made your film?
Mm, I didn't really receive financial support, if that's what you mean. Like we actually had like 200 euros each to try and make the film, which is not a lot compared to like some other schools I know, but it's also not nothing. But I used it to pay like train tickets for my voice actors and actresses, and I used it for like animation license actually as well. But that's it.
Yeah.
And
I mean, that makes sense. It's like, yes, we
yeah,
gotta like gotta spend money to like make the dream happen. I
yeah,
guess
but
yeah.
then I did receive like um I was like supervised by two teachers that were like helping me through the whole process because it was my first time taking a short film that somewhere like that big, I guess, like finish it. And so they did help me a lot, um making all like going through all the steps, because since it's a student film, I made it mostly on my own, but then had help from like classmates or friends of mine, but like they helped me for free, like please help me, and then I helped them as well. So it was like pretty homemade. And yeah, I think the teachers helped me more on the technical aspects, even though they helped me like review what I was writing as well. Sometimes I felt like we were getting stuck somewhere because they didn't relate to what I was experiencing as like white persons, and so it could be sometimes they had high ideas. I was like, oh, that's not it. Like, but I think in the end it helped me as well, like making like growing confident onto what I really want to tell. And so yeah, that's it. I got like teacher support, and also like some material I could use, like the computers at school, and like the uh drawing pads as well, like and yeah, that's it.
Yeah, well, like now that your film has out and completed, I hope that in the future you get a lot more of that support to pursue your endeavors for future animations. It's so great to hear what futures you may have in terms of filmmaking. And I wanted to close out our conversation with this question. It's going to be another hard hitter. I am sorry, but also not sorry. I'm going to make you think. Um, Coming from a culture that, speaking from my own experience, does not like to rock the boat, why is it important, though, that we make waves?
Oh my gosh, Alice, if you have an answer, please.
I'm okay. I'm I think it, like in any context, it's always important to make waves in general, because like you can't just like stay in what you think is right, or be like as silent as possible in any context. If you have the courage and brave enough to do so, like making waves, I guess, is just like making little changes little by little, and just um it doesn't have to be like a big thing or like scream your identity. You can just be like, be here and be like, hey, I exist and I have the right to exist in this space, even though like I understand like you're not always safe to do it. And it's like important to recognize when the context allows it, I guess. But for me, I can already feel some small impact I did by making this film queer and Viet, and like I feel like in some white queer spaces, it made people like acknowledge that Viet queer people exist, Asian queer people exist as well. So it makes changes, and for some also children and teen that I wasn't wasn't lucky enough to get the representation I needed as a child. I was craving it but didn't get it directly. So for us to continue making waves with our art can make some younger people feel seen and grow more confident as well. So it's important for those who are like still trying to discover themselves. I feel like art is very, very important media. And yeah.
Yeah, I also like second about, representation and for the younger generations and even ourselves, you
Mm.
know, getting to see ourselves, reflected in the stories that we're creating and telling. It's so important because it gives them permission to then be who they are, like unapologetically and authentically, and like not have to deal with like the internal struggle that I think a lot of us that are creating the art now had to go through. That a lot of, especially, at the intersection of being Vietnamese and queer and trans and whatnot, we've never seen anything like that growing up. And so it's so, it's just so important to make waves, from a culture where they don't like to rock the boat because it's like for some people it works, but for others it does not, and it doesn't, it's stifling and it's oppressive and restrictive and doesn't allow us to live our life to the fullest. Um, and to the best it could be, which is what life is all about, and we deserve to have those opportunities in that space within ourselves to um, see that for ourselves. And it's hard to do that if we don't make those waves, for our generations and the future generations.
Yeah, and I do want to reassure you both that pursuing your dreams and exploring your identity and putting it into art and putting it out into the world is already making such huge waves. And if it makes any comfort to you both, like it's definitely impacted me already. It's been such a joy to have watched your films and to be in conversation with you tonight. Yeah, thank you both. And to our audience, this concludes our Q&A to We Who Are Making Waves. Many thanks to Bruce Lee, our technical support on this Q&A. Thank you to our filmmakers, Ian and Alice, for attending tonight, and many well wishes to those who couldn't make it. And a friendly reminder to our viewers at home, Viet Film Fest at home continues through Sunday, October 19th, and we hope you decide to watch more movies. On behalf of Viet Film Fest and Vietnamese American Arts and Letters Association, we thank you for watching and we hope to see you again soon. Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you.